All right, welcome back to Aces53, everybody. Once again, since Ed has no voice, you get to hear from me talking a lot more today, which will be a much more enjoyable experience for everyone involved, particularly me and Manuj, right? So,
absolutely. That's just rude. That is so rude.
You know what? You weren't at Steve's event to be harassed, so we'll just make up for it now, right? So
yeah, well, I would have been sick anyway.
That's right. So as you guys know, on Thursdays, we bring in who is the Joker, and that is what is the Joker? The Joker is who is the guest speaker that's going to teach us a special skill or give us some knowledge on something. And Manuj is going to do a little bit of both. So last week we were at a speaking event, and he was the very first speaker to be interviewed. I had no idea. I've been in the room with Manuj a lot. I know he's a brilliant guy, but I had no idea how much he knew about AI. And what we're going to talk about today is a little bit about his background, and then kind of how he got into AI and how AI can be used in prospecting. So, you know, on Tuesday, we gave some tips and tricks on how you can use it, but that was based off what ChatGPT said. This is actually an expert here. So a little bit about Manuj is thought leader in AI with startups that have impacted over 10 million lives and generated over $500 million in value. In addition to that, he has experience with clients like Microsoft and IBM. He's spoken at the UN alongside the Secretary General and Nobel Peace Prize winner. And his work has been mentioned by President Obama and Bill Gates. He's currently has 4 patents in AI, and he is the perfect person today to teach us a little bit about AI and how it can be used in prospecting. So with that, welcome, Manuj. You are in the airport today, so if we hear the overhead is for loading and unloading and all that fun stuff, we just expect that that'll be part of it today, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for the accommodation and pardon the background noise, but I'll try to do my best.
I appreciate that.
So a fun story. Why don't you start by why you're in the airport real fast before you get started?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to prison actually. Our common friend Steve Sims, he organizes these events where we go and help out inmates who want to start their own businesses. They want to get their life back together. So we go there, and this is my first experience. And so we're going to talk to these inmates, see what their business presentation is like. It's almost like a Shark Tank kind of scenario, and I'm looking forward to it.
What's going to be the most interesting for you is the fact that you're going to be dealing with some people who've never even seen a computer. So you're going to come in talking about AI. And literally now a lot of them do have tablets now. I can tell you that from my former profession and career. But when you come in talking about what all is going to be possible, a lot of these people have been in there because you're going to a level 4. So they haven't seen technology for a very long time. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly they pick it up, given that it's not something that they're used to all that often. So the most fascinating thing I think that came up about you the other day is this little nugget right here. And that is you started as a factory worker making $2 a day.
Yeah,
a long time ago, right? And then did you turn? Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you ended up going from that to working with Fortune 500 companies.
Well, I mean, I wish I had. I can say I had a plan or something, but I just went with the flow. Basically, what happened was, working in the factory. Basically, it was a very tough life. And one day during lunch hour, I was going through some business magazines, and I looked at the story of these rich business tycoons making things happen, in the world of business. And I was like, these people look like me. They're similar to me, but what do they have that I don't have? And that triggered something in my mind, which I didn't realize at that time. Of course, lunch break was over. I went off to my work. And then I started thinking, what can I do? What do I have? So my passion has been like curiosity, learning about the world, learning about how things work. And that got me into computers. And I started off as a programmer, started programming. And I was an extreme introvert. So I really enjoyed working with machines because they don't talk back. So I was like, okay, this is perfect. This is the perfect profession for me. This is what I'm going to do. And one thing led to another, came to North America. That was the .com boom time. And I got a job very quickly and also lost the job very quickly because of .com bust happened. But during all those, transitions, I learned quite a bit, like working with different industries, different size of companies, Fortune 500 companies, how do they work, how do startups work, all that. So that led me to, who I am today, like, because I can sort of deal with different situations, different industries, different types of businesses, different types of founders, and find the solution both from the human perspective as well as from the technology perspective. So yeah, I mean, the human perspective, if you want to dive into that, like I can go into that. But yeah, that is sort of my superpower, if you will. Like I can speak technology and human, whereas most people can do one or the other.
Sure. Well, so you mentioned earlier you were an introvert. So wait, let's go back. Started on a factory worker, read an article, got inspired, got into computer programming. There's a lot of people who do those things, but they only become an employee. So what made you decide to start a business? And then when you did that, how did you prospect to build that business? And prospecting can be recruiting employees as well. So how did that come into play?
Yeah. So going back to that story, right? Like I got the job and I was like, okay, I'm good. I'll work here for the rest of my life. And .com bust happened. They laid me off. I got another job in a startup. September 11th happened. They laid me off. Then I got another job. They lost funding. They laid me off. So it was like 3-4 layoffs, like in a span of 3 years. And I was like, okay, this job security thing doesn't really work. I should just do something on my own. And so that's what led me to start my consulting company. It was doing the same exact thing, but rather than relying on one paycheck, working with multiple companies and saying, okay, how can I solve your problems from the technology point of view? And so that's sort of what happened. Regarding prospecting, I've been like, as I said, as an extreme introvert, I didn't know much about business, about marketing and sales. It was for the longest time until about 2019, it was word of mouth, just local sort of network. One person liked the work, they referred me to another one. In 2018, I lost my mom, and that's when sort of things shifted for me, because I needed to build a business which was not relying on my local network. I needed to travel back home and all that. And that's when it hit me, no matter how much good work I have done, if I don't have a good brand, a good visibility, credibility in the marketplace, nothing's gonna really move forward. And that's what exactly happened. Like I had to build the whole thing from the ground up to be able to get some attention from the clients that I was looking for.
Very cool. And so how did you come up with the name Tetra Noodle? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. So again, my inability in the marketing space, like I was looking for a name. I was like, okay, the original name of the company was Spider Communication. So as I told you, it started in 2001. So back then the web was new. So, I was trying to be smart. Web and spider will go together. So, and then in around 2010 or so, after that, people started asking me, what is this Spider Communication? Are you like a telephone company or something? So I was like, okay, no. So we need to change the name. And for the longest time, I couldn't think of a name. And then one day I was sitting with my friends. There's a restaurant chain in Vancouver called Noodle Box. So I said, hey, why not like just take this name, like Noodle Box. The box has 4 corners, that takeout box for Chinese noodles.
Right.
So that's where it came from.
Very cool. Yeah, I went through some of the same things. The first one, I think my company was called Empower for Growth, and nobody could spell it, and it was painful. So it's funny how you start.
It's not about you. It's about him. It's about him, not you.
Right. Well, you did, but a lot of people are afraid to rebrand, and so the fact that you did it, right, that's a big step, because people are worried about, well, will I still be known? Will I do these things? Is it a good idea, a bad idea? It just goes to show that you were willing to take that chance, right, and change it a little bit.
Well, the idea is, that's what people get hung up on themselves. People need to realize it's never about themselves. It's about other people. So if other people are confused, it's better to change it rather than, stick to your guns, right?
One of the things that stood out to me when you spoke last week is when you were talking about AI, technology, everything, is you said the faster you dive in, the faster you learn. And that's just it for what you're on today to talk about prospecting and AI. People are so hesitant to do it. And it's once people pick up and start prospecting, start making phone calls, start sending out emails, start marketing themselves, that's when they see the results. But so many people sit in this analysis paralysis. There's people we've talked to who everybody's starting to hear what's Chat GPT, but I hear so many people who say, well, I'm going to wait until more people are experts in it, then I'll dig in. So can you talk a little bit about what you mentioned with AI, and go ahead and just getting dirty now?
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, if I ask people that I'm taking a flight, for example, to LA, I could drive there and it'll take me like 3 days, but if I fly there, I'll get there like 2.5 hours. So technology is helping us do things better and faster. So if you want to get ahead of the competition, it's better to embrace the tools that are available rather than saying, oh, I'm going to wait. Now, I can understand that hesitation as well. There are some complex technologies like crypto and all that. It takes a lot of, mental power to get into that, because there's a lot of hoops to jump through. But with specifically with Chat GPT, what they have done, the barrier of entry is so low, even a child can do it. Like, basically it's just talking to a computer. And we have seen these scenarios in Hollywood movies so many times. We are almost like expecting it, right? So this is the first glimpse of how it is going to be. And so what I tell people is, just go in there, sign up, it's free, and just have a chat with it. Even if you mess up, there is nothing that you have to risk there, other than your 5 minutes of your time. And then as you get used to it, you'll see the power of it. And the more you do it, the more you will get good at it. And the other thing is, it is so new. Literally, it was released 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So how much, just imagine those of you are in the audience who are old enough to know, in 1990s, if somebody came to you and said, hey, do you want a website? And most people will say, what's a website? I don't need a website. But imagine you were on the cutting edge and you built a website. Most people became wealthy, rich, just by putting up a simple website, because nobody else had it. So that's the same scenario happening right now. And that's why, it's very important to get ahead of the curve.
You brought up another good point when you're talking. You said throughout history, we've always found ways to augment our physical ability. Machines, horses were replaced by automobile, everything else. But you said AI is the first to augment your mental capability. I can't even talk to you. Can you go a little bit more into that? Like, what do you mean?
Hold on. Before that, you should change your thing to it's as easy for a 55-year-old to use it, not as a child.
55 10 years.
I'm just saying, it's everything young. Every kid does stuff now that nobody does. But
exactly.
Older people have a harder time.
Absolutely. And that is the beauty of it. Like, just like when iPhone came, you can just sort of scroll through the thing using your finger, and even people who were not used to technology adopted it. So there's the same thing happening with ChatGPT. So now coming back to your question about mental ability, that is the game-changing thing about this AI, right? We know that as human beings, we are not the strongest species on the planet, but we have somehow became the most dominant, and that is because of our intellect, right? Now, even the smartest person on the planet can only go so far in figuring out solutions. They can only focus on one thing at a time. They can be very, very deep in one area of expertise, but if you ask them about something else, they will be a novice, right? Now, AI is something that is deep in every area that you can imagine. It has already passed exam, a medical practitioner exam. It has already passed a lawyer exam. It has already passed an MBA exam. So it is so intelligent, powerful in every field that it's like hiring, 10 or 20 super intelligent people in your company and saying, okay, you are my sales manager, you are my marketing manager, you are my operations manager, what have you. So that's the power you have at your fingertips now.
I talked to yesterday a marketing executive who she said just using ChatGPT saved her $65,000 because she didn't have to hire an additional writer for their content. And that's what one of the things we were talking about is it's amazing why people won't even get in and play with it when it's free, just to see what it can do. Ed was like a crack addict when he first got on it, right? I mean, introduced him to it, and he's like,
I use it for everything.
So,
I mean, and that's also, it's not unusual for people to hesitate. That this is the history of every innovation. It takes time, and the early adopters, they win, because they are early adopters. They take the risk, but then people will join in, and that's what I tell people. Hey, if you don't wake up today, in 3 years, you're gonna have to embrace it, and by that time you'll play catch up, which is okay, not a big deal. But won't it be nice if you have a head start, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's basically it levels the field in a lot of places. That's what it does. Where
Absolutely.
and that's how I took it. That it's some jobs will go away, but it's going to level the field for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
What about, since we've been talking on prospecting the last few weeks, and we may have you back again, another one, to talk about a different subject, but in terms of prospecting, how do you see AI being useful?
See, when we talk about prospecting, what is it? Like, it's basically communication. It's basically a conversation between you and a person who may be interested in what you have to offer, or put in another way, you may be able to solve their problem in some way, right? And that conversation, typically, the crux of the problem here is that as human beings, we are not taught how to communicate well. Our school system is not geared for that, right? Our school system is geared for, okay, you learn mathematics, you learn science, and you learn these formulas, and you are in a system where you'll be paid a salary for these skills, and you have to remember exactly what have been taught to you. You cannot step outside the boundary. Now, with communication, with prospecting, if we are not really good communicators, we are at loss of words. We're like, will you buy this from me? And people like, get away from me, like, like, so when you use AI, when you use these tools to express yourself in a way that will resonate with the prospect, you have a much easier time to get through to your prospect and get them to understand what is it that you're offering. Because in most cases, prospecting falls flat because of messaging, because of the consistency, because of understanding what other people are going through. And we are so self-absorbed in our own world. The way that we present our offer is all about us, not about the other person.
You mentioned at the event that part of what you and your company do is you'll go and sit down with someone for several hours to really understand who they are, what the goal of their company is, what they're trying to help customers with. And then you turn over to AI and you start asking very refined questions about it. And so the two tips you gave to everybody was, number one, get better at asking questions. Number two, get better at storytelling and taking that data that you get back. So can you go a little bit into that, like what that process is like for you?
Yeah, exactly. So as I said, if you talk to even very successful business owners, you ask them, who are you? Tell me about yourself. They'll be like, okay, I'm this. Okay, what do you like? Who are you as a person? They will stop at a certain point, which is very superficial. When we talk to them, okay, who's your ideal customer? Most people, 90% of the people will say everyone. My solution is so good that everyone can use it. So when we sit down with people, we refine that target client. We also understand who the business owner is, who the entrepreneur is, because what we do, as I said earlier, AI is so versatile, so powerful. It can take on the personality of anybody. So I can start to say, hey, you are Brian Kalke now. You are an expert in face reading. You have gone through these challenges in your life. You have achieved these things in your life. When I set up that AI with your life story like that, it will start talking like you. It will start sharing the thoughts in your tone, in your language, and it will replicate you. And now you can see it's like hiring a team of spokespeople who can go out there on your behalf and spread your message in your tone, in your voice, and speaking to your target audience in the way that they want to be spoken with, right? So imagine that power. You were talking about $65,000. This could, this is equivalent of like $6 million, because this is an army of people that you're hiring on your behalf.
Ed, any questions you have?
No, I'm going to put some banners in, and then I'm going to have you. I'll talk at that minute. All right.
Sure. So one of the things is that when we talked about the events is one of the questions you was, how can entrepreneurs best use ChatGPT or any type of AI? And you responded with, the tools are built around questions and storytelling. You talked about sitting with people. And then what you talked about is how you can then refine, once you get the data back, even that much more. So you just mentioned people will start off with a very generic, I can help everyone. So how are you helping people kind of trim down to their ideal customer avatar?
See, so the very first step is the basic stuff. Who is your target audience? What is it? What is their business title, for example? So a lot of people say, oh, I want to sell to everyone, or I want to sell to this type of person. But then when you boil it down, in this world, in the social hierarchy that we have created, the society, we all have certain title. We are known with a specific label. Whether it's an entrepreneur, is a CEO, is a CTO, whatever it is. So you say, okay, this is a title of the person that you're talking to. What is their objective in life? What is it that they want to achieve? Some people want to achieve growth, some people want to achieve security, some people want whatever that is. And now you can say, okay, in the pursuit of that goal, what are the emotions they are feeling on day-to-day basis? We all feel certain emotions as we are trying to achieve our goals. We are all running towards something, and every day we feel happiness, we feel emotions like anger, anxiety, jealousy, whatever. So this is like another level of keyword research. In typical marketing parlance, the first thing we do is let's look for keywords. What are people searching for, and then we start to work backwards from there. But that keyword is not telling us anything about our target audience, what is happening inside their mind and their hearts. In this way, what I can go to ChatGPT or any similar AI tool, and I can say, hey, okay, I'm trying to target the vice president of sales. What are they anxious about on day-to-day basis? And then those are the questions that you can start to answer now. How can I address your anxiety? What are they afraid of? What are they jealous about? Because they are jealous looking at other vice president of sales in other companies and how they are doing it. And if you come across and say, hey, I understand your jealousy, why are you jealous, and what is happening in your mind and why you're not able to compete with these people, I have the solution for you. That resonates much better than just working with keywords and whatnot. Make sense?
Oh, absolutely. One of the other things that you mentioned, sorry, I'm going back to our notes from what we were talking about before, is when you mentioned that AI has actually been around for a lot of years. It's just people weren't aware of it unless they'd heard of Jarvis, or they'd heard of, more recently, like I said, ChatGPT, which had the highest adoption rate of anything out there, right? It was in 24 hours it had the highest adoption rate. Before that was Angry Birds, and then something else. Yeah. And it's funny because you can't go anywhere now without people saying, well, I'm a ChatGPT expert, or there's all these courses on it, right? But AI, for people who don't know, how long has AI itself been around versus what people are familiar with this month, I should say?
See, AI has been around since 1960s. So it has been. It used to be called many different things: data analytics, data science, or it has gone through multiple naming conventions. But at the end of the day, it's basically collecting data, collecting evidence from the world around you, and finding the patterns in that data to figure out what actually is happening. Because our human senses, 5 senses, are very, very we lose so much detail as a face reader. You know exactly what I mean, right? We lose so much detail as we consume data that it's impossible for us to make sense of truly what is happening. So collecting that data, applying these algorithms, finding the patterns, it has been around for decades. Now what has happened recently is more data is being collected exponentially. The data production has become more because we are carrying these devices and we are wearing wearable devices. We have smart fridges now. We have smart, locks. Everything is smart now. Like they are producing data, right? Then the compute power that is needed to run the algorithms has increased exponentially as well. So now we are able to store massive amount of data, and we are able to run these algorithms to understand that data. So that's what's happened. And then on top of that, now with ChatGPT and all that, the barrier of entry, like even 3 years ago you needed like somebody like me to make sense of all this and say, okay, where do we even start? Like you need a real expertise. But now with ChatGPT, like even a 55-year-old or a 10-year-old, whoever can go in and start using a language and interact with it. So that's the sort of the progression of technology. And it's not similar. It's no different than a car. For example, when the car was invented, you had to like use a crankshaft to start it, and you had to have like a special training to make sure that you are safe in the car. Now it's like you press a button and the engine starts and off you go, right? And self-driving cars are here too.
Now I did a little differently before the show. I asked it this, right?
Yeah.
And then it came back and said, these are how it can be used. Improved lead qualifying, right? And what's nice now with ChatGPT, you can add additional stuff so now it can search the web, where before it was stuck with 21 and back, 2020, 21 back. Now it has access to the web if you add these extra things into it. But there's a lot of stuff that you can use AI for to help you qualify what you do as a person and help you get to the right people who want you. And that's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you want me to go through all those things?
Yeah, I didn't know you got them in there. Go for it.
All right. So this is what it said. Improve lead qualifying. And what that means is, read it for me, Brian.
Sure. Improved lead qualifying. AI and machine learning can help salespeople identify the right customers to target and analyze data and identify patterns. So it's exactly what Manuj was saying earlier.
Right.
You can, once but you've got to dig in deep instead of I can help everyone. How do you keep drilling down and refining who you're looking for, right? And then personalized outreach. So this is something that kind of comes into here, but also what we talked about is the day and age of one message for everybody isn't there. So then you can actually go out now and how do you customize a response per that customer by pulling in that data that you may not have had access to before. And that's what's really amazing. Before you went to a company's website, right? You may have found some literature, may have found some articles where the CEO or somebody was interviewed, but you didn't have access to everything you have now so that you can actually tailor and beef up your messages when you're going to go talk to someone. Right?
Exactly.
And then predictive analytics. So by using AI, salespeople can predict what prospects are most likely to convert, and when. And that's the biggest thing. Not everything is a today sale, but what are patterns that go to it? I think one of the craziest AI stories I heard a while back was when Target, through using data analytics, sent the girl like pregnancy information, and Target knew that she was pregnant before she was, right? Based on what she'd been doing. And yeah, it's just nuts to think of where it is today. And then automated prospecting. So what do you have for that one? All right. Automate the prospecting process by identifying new leads and generating personalized outreach. So yeah. So before you had to go and search keywords in, for example, LinkedIn to find people. And so now this is just that much faster. You can get the data. And it's not, look, we've been augmenting how we do this. So it used to be you had to do the research. Then people hired assistants. Then people went to VAs. But now you have somebody who can work 24/7 and can constantly run in the background. Right? It's nuts.
So you can build the relationship that you need to do with your prospects.
Absolutely.
Right. That's all I had.
That's all you had? Wow.
Yep.
All right.
Everything Manuj said.
Yeah. So Manuj, what do you think is the most misunderstood thing about AI that's out there?
Well, the misunderstood thing is, the usual thing that it's going to take over humanity. It's going to, cause job loss. It will, but it's like saying, a car is going to take over humanity. A fridge is going to take over humanity. Like all these inventions are here to solve a problem, and if you use it right, it's not going to take any. It's not going to cause any harm. It's actually going to create new jobs. Now, if people don't use a car and they complain, oh, I want to use a horse cart, and they are complaining about there is no prospect for them to, like there is no business coming towards them. That's on them. You need to keep up with the time. So that's the misconception here. There's nothing to be wrong. The key is like AI is such a unique thing, as I said, because it works at a mental level. Hollywood has played such a bad role in this. They have frightened us all into thinking that this is an evil technology.
I just watched Mitchell versus the Machines with my daughter, so you're right. Good movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. But
so no Terminator. Is that what you're saying?
Well, this is a cartoon version.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, like, humans have these negative emotions. We are the ones with jealousy and anger, and we wage wars. Which other species on the planet wage wars against each other? And we think that AI is going to do the same because we are the the broken ones, right? So we think, oh, AI is going to take over, but these things don't have emotions. They don't have any grudges against each other. Like Google AI is not going to talk to OpenAI and say, what the heck, I'm going to kill you. That's like a silly scenario, right?
Right. What about you mentioned personalizing it, and Ed was going to bring up some websites too. So Ed was reading that if you have content generated by, say, ChatGPT, and then you just put it right on your website, now companies like Google are going out and saying, oh, we know that's auto-generated, give you a lower ranking. So one of the important things you talked about is the data is good, but you have to go and put it in your own words and then personalize it afterwards. So it's more like it gives you something that's a rough edit that you need to refine. Are you doing that?
Okay, so see, the underlying problem is this. We have started creating content for Google. So Google, what is Google? Google is AI.
Right.
That's all they have not been able to catch up with OpenAI, so that's why they are bitching about it and saying, oh, this is generated by AI. But they are the second AI company.
Right.
They make billions and billions of dollars running ads based on AI. So the idea is that we should get away from saying that we will generate content to beat AI. It's about human connection. Okay, generate content to connect with humans, and that will be much more effective than focused on AI. So in the short term, yes, there's going to be all this confusion about whether it's going to rank on SEO or not. So we're going to have to cater to that. We're going to have to edit it, but this is a short term thing. Look at the financial markets. In the financial markets, when you trade stocks or currencies, 90% of the trades globally is done through computers. It's just computers talking to each other. That's it. So the pricing of oil, the pricing of all these commodities, is computers talking to each other. Nothing else. There's no human involved. So that's sort of the scenario we are going into with content as well. But we are just at the at the tip of it. So that's why these companies who are not prepared for it, they're going to create some problems. But overall, you need to think about how do you want to build that emotional connection with your audience.
Sure. And you brought up a great example. So there's quantitative trading, right? Trading in the stock market now, which is computers doing it. And we had to put in a fail safe that if they start trading down too far, too fast, then the circuit breaker kicks in and all trading is halted. So that what can you do? You can reset expectations with the AI models. Everything will be, like I said, look at how fast it can trade for us all. And then we just put safety factors in.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, we know you got to catch a flight in a minute. What other parting thoughts would you like to leave us with?
Well, as I said, the only thing I will say is we are at a turning point in human history. I believe, again, I may be wrong, but I believe that the emotional side of the humanity will start to become more prominent. So connection with each other, focus on empathy, those things are going to be valued more moving forward than your ability to think, because that ability to think is no longer as valuable because machines can think much faster, much better, and much deeper.
So on that, go ahead, Ed.
It's all about the relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is one of the quotes I took away from when you spoke last week, and that was, we crave connection because as a society, we stopped socializing. right? We go to text, we go to emails, we go to instant messaging, you name it, and we don't talk as much as we used to. And this will actually freed up where communication will be the difference that you have again, because it did, as Ed said earlier, it leveled the playing field for a lot of things. We used to have to hire a copywriter to write persuasive content. Now you can do it in seconds. And again, it's a free tool, and people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to use it. It's free. So is Google, and you use it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think a lot of this had to do with COVID. We were locked down for almost 2 years, and now everybody wants to be close again.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely.
True.
So, Ed, you should really thank Manuj, because I think he got a majority of the wrath of Steve's jokes since you weren't there. So.
That's what happens when you're with, people who are scared of everybody.
Anywho, hey, thank you so much for taking the call today, especially from the airport. We really appreciate it for sharing this background. Like I said, when we get you another subject, we'll probably tap you on the shoulder again and say, where else can AI?
Anytime. Happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Safe travels.
Don't go anywhere yet.
Yeah.